Secrets of the Sire. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2020 edition of Secrets of the Sire. We talk comics, movies, TV, and pop culture every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Sire Studios digital network. That's facebook.com/Secrets of the Sire, streaming live on youtube.com/Sire Studios, twitch.tv/Secrets of the Sire. You can find our podcast on all podcasting apps. That's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher, you name it, iHeart Radio. We are out there. I am your host, Michael Dolce, and as always, joined by my co-host extraordinaire. How did it feel to have a 2-week break, Mr. Hassan Godwin?
It was wonderful. Let's take another 2 weeks off.
It was really nice. It's not bad.
Let's just stop.
What was really even nice too was just broadcasting out the video from our event as last week's podcast, and just being like, "Oh, this work is done." Which
yeah,
was great.
And it was a nice change of pace.
Did you by chance catch the Golden Globes last weekend?
I caught the highlights of it.
And did you see we have a new winner of the Golden Globes, which is generally a precursor to Oscars, Mr. Joaquin Phoenix, who took home Best Actor in a Drama for Joker. So, bottom line is this: if you want to win an Oscar, you play the Joker.
Unless you're Jared Leto.
And I guess Jack Nicholson too.
Yeah.
So I guess
Jack
the lesson is you don't. If you want to win an Oscar nowadays, nope, Jared Leto still doesn't work. Still doesn't work.
Exactly.
And did you see a former Batman was trending earlier this week? Also, Christian Bale rumored to be Beta Ray Bill. In Thor, Love and Thunder. Yeah.
That's all right. Well, like Taika Waititi can make that work.
Casting rumors. All right. We're going to talk New Mutants trailer tonight. Do a little trailer truth or trash. That came out. We're going to spin the 2020 movie racks, and we're going to put ourselves into December 31st, 2020, and we're going to name the highest grossing film, the most popular film, and the most controversial film when we spin the racks. But first, we start with hashtag release the JJ cut. Now, this actually started trending, I think right before New Year's or right after New Year's. It was on a website called Disney Star Wars is dumb.wordpress.com. And what it did was it pulled from someone from Reddit, who was, I guess, supposedly an insider. We will obviously disclaim this by saying it was someone from Reddit. So, take it for what it's worth. That being said, all the stuff that he talked about, or he or she, this user posted, or they or theirs, posted on Reddit was, it was big news. It was, I don't want to say big news, but it was big trending topics. So whether or not this is accurate or not, it definitely made the rounds. So what exactly am I talking about? I'll give you some snippets. There was supposedly someone who worked on the return of the Rise of Skywalker, who leaked some information that essentially the cut we saw of the Rise of Skywalker is not the actual J.J. Abrams cut. The original cut was over 3 hours. He then had to fight. I know I'm boring you, but it's okay. I
totally forgot I was on camera.
See, 2 weeks off. 2 weeks off. You're supposed to hide these things.
I was.
Next thing you know, you're gonna pull a sandwich out, start eating a sandwich, and you're gonna sneeze right into the mic.
I'm genuinely hungry. I am genuinely hungry right now. But okay.
The J.J. Abrams cut originally was over 3 hours. He was content to do that. The studio then fought with him to cut it down and to put more lip service, more fan service into it. He did. He cut it down to 2 hours and 37 minutes. The cut we saw was 2 hours and 21 minutes, and scenes were supposedly rearranged. And JJ, quote unquote, was devastated and blindsided by this. He said he's been feeling down over the last 6 months because of some ridiculous demands Disney had that changed his movie story. While the scenes were shot, a lot of changes were made in post-production, and the audio was re-recorded and altered. Some of the biggest changes, according to this, the scene with the Force ghosts, which, see, this is where I do kind of question whether or not this is accurate enough, because I don't understand why it wouldn't be in the movie. Older actors like Hayden Christensen, Ewan McGregor, and Samuel L. Jackson, and anyone who wasn't animated, they weren't meant to just be voices, because they shot the footage on camera, the actors in costumes. Rey was supposed to be surrounded by the Force ghosts to serve as sort of a barrier between her and the Sith surrounding them. They think, the source thinks this is because of China. It's an office talk of sorts. Some VFX people claim they got a list of approved shades of blue they could use on Luke Force ghosts. Cutting this out was when the bad blood turned into a nightmare for JJ, because the movie he was making was suddenly unrecognizable to him. Another thing was the addition of Janna. Janna was supposedly confirmed to be Lando's daughter, whereas it was basically weirdly kind of insinuated at the end, just because you're like, oh, hey, you're Lando and you're a black character, so you guys obviously have to be related because it's the galaxy, and somehow that is the only way you guys could be absolutely related, because you just happen to be there.
She's also going to be dating Finn.
So, right.
So the other thing.
Right. So that was kind of interesting. There's a whole bunch of other stuff where they were talking about, Rey not only healed Kylo's face scar, but she killed Kylo when she healed Ben. Kylo ceased to exist when Rey healed him. My source mentioned that some people assume it was Han Solo who healed him, but that isn't true, and that wasn't Han Solo. That was Leia using her own memories, as well as Ben's, to create a physical manifestation of his own thoughts to nudge him towards what he needed to do. That was her own way of communicating with him, and it wasn't possible without her dying in the process. She made the ultimate sacrifice. And this flew over people's heads with the Disney cut. And finally, Finn wanting to tell Rey something was always meant to be Force sensitivity. In the 3-hour cut, it's explicitly stated there was a moment when Janna and he are running on top of the Star Destroyer, and Finn needed to unlock or move something, and he Force moves it and acted surprised when it happened. This was replaced with a CGI'd BB-8 fixing whatever he needed to fix on there. What, if any, do you make of some of the stuff? And I mean, I can go on too. There's other stuff. Babu Frank was supposed to be cut. They thought people, Disney thought. What do you think of the idea that Disney has essentially co-opted this franchise for the final installment? See, that to me seems plausible. That to me, actually, it doesn't necessarily justify the 3 movies we've seen. It doesn't necessarily justify, everything that kind of happened. It goes on in this thing to say JJ was not happy with where The Last Jedi took the story. The final result is a mix of that story and the story told by Disney, and whoever they tried to impress. JJ is gutted over the final result. Well, first of all, it's a rumor. I get it, right?
Okay,
I'm waiting.
Can I answer this question now?
I'm waiting. Yes, I'm waiting for you.
Okay. I know you'll check the video. The 2 times I opened my mouth to answer, and you started talking again.
I thought you were eating a sandwich. Go ahead. No sandwich. Go ahead.
You know what? It's not impossible that any and all of these things happen. I don't think it matters, personally, because the changes that they made, or the changes that it sounds like they made, are still part of this incoherent, like, jigsaw puzzle kind of mess that the movie would have been in the first place. So these set pieces would have been different and a little more interesting, maybe. All the Force ghosts showing up at the end would have been a pretty visual. Would have given me like a moment, in the theater, like, oh, okay, that's nice. But I mean, this movie is a mythology breaker, right? So, first of all, it's because of Rian Johnson and now JJ that's, for some reason, using the Force can kill you, right? So Luke dies because he used the Force. Leia died because she used the Force. Rey died because she used the Force. Kylo died because he used the Force. Yet the Emperor lives on, so these other people who manipulate the Force, I mean, it's just so. I don't know. It's probably it could be. It could be the to answer your question.
Yeah.
It could all be true. I don't believe it because a lot of it fits too well or too neatly with a lot of prevailing narratives about what's wrong with Disney Star Wars in the first place.
Right.
So like that kind of like the fact that J.J. Abrams hates Rian Johnson and that he's heartbroken over those movies. I see that part I don't buy. I don't buy Rian Johnson. I don't buy J.J. Abrams being.
I think he is, though. I think he genuinely is, and I'll tell you why. Because this is going back when he first was.
What don't you buy? What don't I buy?
That he's not heartbroken. I think he is heartbroken.
But
in a way.
That wasn't what I was going to say. But okay, go ahead.
You just said you don't buy that J.J. is heartbroken over this.
I said that's kind of where it starts to get iffy for me. But what I was going to say is I don't buy that he would be manipulated that way. I don't know whether he's heartbroken or not. I don't care about that. I don't buy that he would be moved around like that. I mean, he knew what he was getting into when he got back into it. He said, "This is the house that he built."
Sure.
So, like, he goes back in. He knew exactly what he was going to get. He knew exactly what was going on. He knew exactly what he was getting into. He was cajoled to come back, or he was compelled to come back for whatever reasons. So, like, to come back and for him to be like feeling betrayed about, like, or in some way blindsided by the corporate soullessness of Disney's want of a crowd pleasing product. I just don't see that personally. Well, I mean, he might be heartbroken. I don't know, but
reason I do think he's heartbroken. This is going back to interviews he did before he took over the Star Trek franchise, and he actually openly said, he says, this is really exciting. However, I was always a Star Wars guy. Star Wars, if I get the chance to direct Star Wars, would be, something that is more sentimental than Star Trek. Star Trek, I think the characters are great. I think the movies are great. I'd like to add to that. I'd like to take this franchise and bring it back to what its prominence was and its importance was, but he never talked about having the love for Star Trek that he did for Star Wars. So I think that.
So what? I mean, like, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. He wanted to make a Star Wars movie. He did. He made a $2 billion.
No, I know.
Successful Star Wars.
No, I know. But that's where I think when he sees direction.
If he wanted to save this thing, if he was going to be heartbroken, he wanted to save this thing. He could have not walked away from it in the first place. He could have stewarded it.
I don't think he did. Well, see, but that's what it comes down to, right? So in this article, they basically kind of say, like, he was the Force Awakens.
Whether or not we think he did, he went on a press junket and said he didn't want to do it.
Right.
When it first came out. So now it doesn't.
The question is why. You have a history of multiple directors being fired, multiple directors, or multiple people being attached and then kind of let go unceremoniously. And it seems to me, I do agree with you that it's convenient that this story comes out. It does fit a certain narrative. But, and I know you're sitting there saying, oh, well, J.J. Abrams, he's J.J. Abrams. He can't get pushed around. He can't be manipulated like that. But there's so many stories of big-time people who fall into the same situation where they basically sit there and go, well, studio meddling did this and this and this. I mean, why was Into the Spider-Verse so good? Remember, we asked Jeff Gomez, and he goes, because animators are left alone. they're not, they're there to tell a story, and that's it. They're going to tell the story.
Until I hear that it was studio meddling that made The Force Awakens what it was, I don't feel bad for him. Because The Force Awakens is the epitome of what was wrong with the entire trilogy.
That's also supposedly in this article what was said, that during The Force Awakens, Disney was hesitant to hire John Boyega because a woman was front and center, so they deemed that risky enough. JJ fought to make that happen. The same issue came up when JJ fought to have Finn and Poe in The Return of Skywalker.
Right.
sorry, Rise. I keep saying return. Many people, JJ included,
but that would have been
came to the
insane.
realization
I mean,
during this production.
For Disney, that would have been insane.
Oh,
for
yeah,
them
yeah,
to
yeah.
just cut out to other, like just. I mean, one of the biggest criticisms of the Last Jedi was that the team was all split up and that the other two characters had almost absolutely nothing to do in the entire movie. So
Right.
for executives to come along and say, "Hey, take these two guys out," because the only thing everybody wants to see is the love story between Kylo Ren and Rey.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I almost wish they would have done that because it would have been a total disaster. It would have been a well-deserved disaster.
Yeah.
I mean, look, maybe, but it also, a lot of that fits into JJ's kind of guerrilla marketing tactics and how marketing goes along with the product that you're making, and everything is front loaded where you introduce a lot of mysteries, but you don't have any answers for them. You don't have any resolutions to any of them, and then you leave it up to it. Even if maybe that was all the studio and it had nothing to do with Rian Johnson or J.J. Abrams.
Yeah,
it fits JJ's MO so well to have situations where, like, not explaining Rey's parents and not explaining where the lightsaber came from and not even giving us a tidbit of information that we could go on so that we could carry it through to the next one. And then so what happens is that it starts to become just a puzzle. Once you put all the pieces to the puzzle together, there's no emotional through line for you to be able to hold on to the characters. And now I know how those movies end. I know what happens in all those movies. I have no desire to go back and ever see it again. Whereas because I was invested in Luke's desire to be as close to his father as humanly possible,
mm-hmm.
and because I believed the inaccurate truth, of Obi-Wan, who basically told Luke exactly all the background that he needed to know in A New Hope, and so I'm going in Empire Strikes Back not wanting to know what the hell is going on, but I go in there thinking I know what the heck is going on. Yeah. And because I think I know what's going on, I've come back because I'm invested. I want to see what happens next. And in the process, not only do I see what happens next with this giant sweeping space adventure, but I also find out at the end that what I thought I knew wasn't what I knew. And that the person I was relying on to give me the information wasn't actually giving me the right information.
Mm.
And so the good guys are now ambiguous. The bad guys are still the bad guys. So I still hate the bad guys, but now I don't know who to trust on the good guys' side. And then you stop the film with one of the bad guys in peril. The other one is maimed for life and disillusioned. It's an amazing ending to lead you into a movie that was absolutely guaranteed to boom at the box office, even if it was terrible, which a lot of people consider it to be. I don't. I'm not one of those people who dislike Return of the Jedi.
No,
but
not at all.
There are a lot of people who do. So it to me, I don't understand. Like it pertains to an utter lack of understanding on how to tell stories. It's not a lack of knowing how to put movies together. It's not a lack. In a complete reverse, George Lucas doesn't know how to polish a movie. He doesn't know how to polish a movie and put it together to the point where it actually appeals to modern pop culture,
mm-hmm.
right? So he's got the story, and the thing about it is that there's still kids talking about Obi-Wan and Anakin,
right?
We're still talking about Obi-Wan and Anakin 15 years later, even on the backs of 3, dubious movies, like dubious installments into the saga, right? And that comes from a prequel fan,
right?
So we're watching these. I just remember going into this third one and watching the banter of these characters and really liking what I heard from them, and thinking this is too late though.
Right.
I still don't know who any of these guys are. I don't know what any of them want. I don't know what they're there for. Right. Like what? If you're not going to do a love interest, if Finn's not going to be a love interest, and I'm not an advocate for Finn being Rey's love interest at all. What was he there for? Because they didn't give him anything to do.
No, and they
Han
actually
Solo
gave
was
him
in love with Princess Leia. They had a love story.
They gave Finn the best
lead in.
Right, I was gonna say the catalyzing moment.
Right,
where he's a stormtrooper. I mean, that's a completely original idea within the context of these films, and then they took him nowhere.
They gave him no turf. They gave him no wants.
They gave him to learn the same lesson in 2 movies. In Force Awakens, he learns the lesson, and then for some reason, Rian Johnson's like, maybe he didn't really learn it, and we'll reset the clock. And now
I don't know what to do with this character. I don't want to do anything with this character. That's exactly. I'm telling you exactly because you're a writer.
Oh yeah,
exactly what happened.
And they're like, we're going to give him this showdown against his boss, who we don't know anything about.
Yeah,
who's a cool looking,
who's not imposing, who's not a threat, who was a joke. They threw it in a trash compactor in the first one, so you neutralized her threat. Just the same thing you did with Kylo.
Yeah.
You neutralize his threat. Now, I will say that Kylo Ren and Rey becoming allies in the second movie, when they were deadly enemies in the first movie, was a great development. But it was developed in such a way that was so poorly done.
There was no context in between Force Awakens and this to suggest that they would all of a sudden because they didn't have a plan.
And it was literally days later. It was days later. It wasn't a year later. It wasn't like I've had time to reflect on it. I've had time to learn who I am, what I am doing.
Which actually made, in The Rise of Skywalker, the kiss at the end so horrible, because why is this guy being redeemed? He's still a mass murderer. Thank God they killed him, at least. Sorry for people who haven't seen it yet, spoilers. But thank God they did, because at the end, I wouldn't tolerate this happy ending between a mass murderer. That's like Hitler being like, "Hey, it turns out."
Well, Anakin got redeemed.
It would be like Hitler being like, "I'm just gonna be a painter now. I'm an artist now." Who knew? Who knew? You healed me, and now my paintings are good, and now I'm an artist again. Would you ever let's put 2 supposed secret cuts up against each other? The JJ cut versus the Snyder cut. Which one would you want to see more?
I'd want to see the JJ cut. I'm not going to lie about that. I would want to see if it makes it any less a dumpster fire, in my opinion. Yeah. Because like the Snyder's extended cut of Batman versus Superman allowed me to like the film a lot more. And I'm not nearly as invested as in the DC EU as I am or was in Star Wars. But watching that, I'm like, oh, that's why that character did that. And that's why, and that's why Wonder Woman's after that picture. And that's, I mean, it still was ridiculous. It's a ridiculous movie. Do you bleed? Oh my God, what is happening? It's written by the same guy. That's the other problem.
Right. It's interesting too, because I mean, the Snyder cut of Justice League is something that is a completely
What's the guy's name? What's the guy's name? Terrio?
Chris Terrio, yeah.
Chris Terrio. He's not a he had another comment. Someone asked him about the end of the movie.
Yeah.
At the end of the movie, there's a piece of music called A New Home, written by John Williams, right? So Rey shows up at the Skywalker farm, the Lars farm, actually. And which without explaining how she knew where he lived and whatever. But it doesn't matter. She could have found out.
Leia told him.
Right. But Leia had only been there once, and that was when she was a slave girl to Jabba. So I don't know when they had time to visit the Lars farm, but it doesn't matter. And she buries the lightsabers, and she's sledding, up and down, and she's looking around the place, she's checking the place out. So now look, from a rudimentary standpoint, you look at it and you're like, she's figuring out where to hang her drapes. All right, I'll check this place out. This looks good. I could hang out here. Now, what the cherry on top of the scene is the woman who passes by. Now, the woman passes by and asks her about that so that she could say, "My name is Skywalker."
Right.
But the woman says, "It's been so long since anyone's lived here, what's your name? Ray what? Now, Ray should have said, I'm just passing through. I'm not going to stay. But no, they didn't want the impact of the Skywalker line.
Sure.
So someone says, okay, why is Ray, they went to Cristerio and they said, why is Ray moving into the Skywalker Ranch at the end? And he's like, oh, she's not. She's just burying the two lightsabers there. And then the person says, well, okay, but John Williams, the music John Williams plays there is called A New Home. And he says, well, I don't know why he named it that. So you see, I'm like, well, you've hung a lantern on the fact that she may be staying there.
Yeah.
You have to, if that's not your desired effect, you need to be writer enough to know that that's what people are going to think.
Mm.
So maybe now, look again, studio meddling. Maybe he's an excellent writer. He's Shakespearean.
But maybe that's he did win an Oscar,
Okay.
for best screenplay for Argos. So I mean, he obviously can write. So that comes down
doesn't
to
necessarily mean he can write. He won an Oscar from Hollywood.
That's look at you, zing! Oh, it's 2020. All right, what do you guys think? Any truth to these rumors? Do you want to see the JJ cut, and which cut do you want to see more? You can comment on the Facebook feed. When we come back, it was a miracle. It was a sighting. New Mutants, and maybe it looks good when we come back. Check out the all-new Sire Studios website, SireStudiosInc.com. Find all your back issues for The Sire, Mainstream, Undone, and more. And be on the lookout for news and announcements, convention appearances, and brand new podcasts coming to Sire Studios. That address again is SireStudiosInc.com. Welcome back to Secrets of the Sire. I want to give a shout out to our patrons. We have trusted guys, dedicated fans, Tom Osa, Craig Caruso, Einar Peterson, Matt Byer, Omar Morales. Want to welcome our new patron, Darren Sanchez. Not the Darren Sanchez that sat in with us, but Darren's son, Darren, who is now a patron of our show, which is awesome. Brian Phillips, our program director, Stephanie Dolce, and as always, our Uber fan, Christina Dolce. Patreon.com/Secrets of the Sire. Go check it out. We did our awesome live stream right from there, from the store. So they got to experience it firsthand and kind of be involved, which was pretty cool. All right. Segment 2, trailer truth or trash. Got to tell you, this was a little gift for 2020. I kind of had a feeling this was gonna happen this week, though. I kind of felt like I was like, oh, it's been kind of quiet because New Year's and Christmas. I feel like something's gonna drop. Had no idea, because if you gave me the over/under, the odds that we would actually see a New Mutants movie, which I guess technically we still haven't seen, but the fact that it's on the slate for 2020, even though it's supposed to be released in like August of 2018, maybe even 2017, I honestly would have said there's no this movie's never coming out, or it's going to go straight to Disney Plus. Could still both those possibilities could happen, but we got a brand new trailer this week, and what I find hilarious about this, leading up to this trailer, everyone's like, New Mutants, this, blah, blah, blah. One trailer comes out, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, this looks pretty good. This looks pretty good. Like, I mean, the overwhelming reaction I saw online, overwhelmingly positive. Ilyana using the soul sword at the end, looking like magic at the end. CBR was even talking about how it's going to adhere to the Bill Sienkiewicz, Chris Claremont run, the Demon Bear saga. So that's the storyline that it's supposedly referencing. And they're also thinking there is a specific X-Men baddie that we might actually get to see for the first time on screen. Before I get into who that is, your reaction to this new trailer.
It was okay.
Did it any better or worse than your previous entries to this film?
Not really. It was cool seeing. I mean, this one defined who the characters are a lot better. So we know it's Bobby and it's Cannonball and it's Mirage and Rain and Magic, which is kind of cool. No Doug, no Warlock, no
that would take too long to explain, wouldn't it?
No.
I think in like the first movie, I feel like it would.
No. Not at all. They explain Rocket and Groot in the first movie, like come on. It could work.
I guess.
Could do it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter that they're not in it. I'm nitpicking. It was cool to see them. I've just been burned too many times by that brand of comic book movie.
Well, that's the funny part, right? Like now, the question that everyone keeps asking though is how much of a reshoot / redo did they do of this film?
I wouldn't bank on it. I wouldn't bank that they spent too much money retooling that.
I don't think so, but they could re-edit it. You can re-edit footage. You can use footage that already exists to kind of craft a better storyline, potentially, or a better movie. So it's possible. Obviously, we don't know because we didn't. It's not like you're going to get two different.
Well, you're obviously looking forward to it. So good.
Let me ask you a question: the JJ cut or the New Mutants cut? No, I'm just kidding. Get there yet. So according to CBR,
that wasn't even going to be a contest, so don't worry about it.
This is the Snyder cut or the New Mutants cut? No.
The Care Bears or Rise of Skywalker.
So this is according to CBR. The name of the hospital in which the New Mutants is set isn't mentioned in the trailer, but faded writing above the main entrance appears to read Millbury Hospital and places the date of the institution's founding as sometime in the late 1800s. If that is indeed what is written on the glass, this could have some major repercussions, as both the name Millbury and the 1800s holds major significance for Mr. Sinister. I know you don't.
It's perhaps it's a possibility.
I know you haven't
either that or the Hellfire Club. So
yeah, I know you haven't read too much X-Men outside of Powers of 10 and House of X lately.
No. I was a New Mutants X-Men fanatic.
No. Lately,
when I was a kid.
Lately. Yeah,
but I mean, lately it doesn't really matter.
No. Well, it does. No, it does because the Mr. Sinister we grew up with in the Claremont run is completely. I don't want to say completely different, but he's basically evolved into something complete. Like I don't even know.
Yeah, but if this is the Sienkiewicz Claremont run, we wouldn't get that.
Well, that's my whole thing. If we're going to get the that's what I'm saying. If we're going to get the Sinister from the Claremont run, then I'm very much looking forward to this movie. I was looking forward to it in general. Like people were like, "Oh, this is not a New Mutants," blah blah blah. And I was like, "No, I kind of like what they're doing. They're kind of doing what Deadpool did. They're kind of doing what a lot of these film franchises that Marvel does very successfully, which is at this point you've seen all superhero movies. You don't want to have another superhero movie. You want to have it have a different angle to it, and to do a horror movie in have a superhero but do it in the vein of a horror movie, I thought was always a cool idea. This trailer to me reinforced that decision. And then I mean I gotta admit, Illyana hoisting the soul sword at the end, that was a cool.
You don't even really see the soul sword. You imagine, but you don't even see it. The armor is forming. You can. It's probably what that is, but you don't actually see it. Let's just be honest. You don't see the sword.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's pretty cool in general for me.
Yeah, go ahead. So was Solo. The last guy, the last Jedi look cool. They all look cool. Looking cool is not an issue. Yeah. It is not an issue. It's just like, okay, where is this coming from? Who's bringing it to us? What is their intent behind it? Now, you don't have to meta watch these things and be concerned. If you're excited about that stuff, then absolutely, man, more power to you.
Yeah.
More power to you. I just, for me personally, it's like, all right, I'll wait till a couple people see it. I'm not I am not going to be first in line to go see that. I'm a real big fan of the New Mutants. I didn't like the first trailer. I like this trailer a lot better because it defines it better.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the fact that, okay, these are actually the New Mutants. They didn't throw Jubilee in there.
Right.
They didn't throw, they a whole bunch of Morlocks in there and try to make it out to, okay, so you're actually taking the team of the New Mutants and you're doing a story behind them, which is fantastic. More power to you, but I'm gonna wait. Because I went to see The Dark Phoenix. You know what I'm saying?
Not as horrible a movie as everyone makes it out to be. Not a great.
I'm the one who said it wasn't horrible, and you said it was. And now I'm saying, look, it wasn't a great movie, and now you're saying it's not. It's ridiculous, but it's not. It wasn't a good movie. They blew the Dark Phoenix
advocate to your devil. No, it's not even just that.
They blew the Dark Phoenix twice.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
It's easy. It's not easy source material, but you've seen how it's done now.
So if
there are 20-something movies of a successful comic book franchise,
right?
That if you were marketing smart with the X-Men in your catalog,
mm-hmm.
you could have made some really unbelievable. I mean, look at the movies. Look at the last few X-Men movies that they put out. Look at Age of Apocalypse. You had Days of Future Past, which was the closest they've ever come to an MCU movie. Logan notwithstanding. Logan is not in this, but Logan is in the class by itself because it is a genre leap for the franchise.
Yeah.
So it's not a team movie. It's not an ensemble cast.
Mm-hmm.
So you had Age of Apocalypse, then you put out Dark Phoenix, and then your New Mutants movie was shelved for 2 years.
I know.
I'm not running in there, man. I can be late if someone comes out, someone I respect. If you come out and say, "Hey, no, really, it was good,"
well,
I'll wait
that's
for someone
my
to actually
question.
respect, and then no, I'm kidding.
That's my question, though. But that's my question to you, and I think that's where this is the trailer truth or trash question. Trailer truth or trash. Is this movie going to be better than we thought it was going to be, or is it going to be trash like we originally said? Boy, they haven't
It's already better than I thought it was going to be because now I can see definitively what characters they're using, who they're using, or what and then I can start to extrapolate an image of what the movie is going to be about. I'm pretty sure. Spoiler alert! It's all a deep fake. That some villain has them all in one place, and at the end they're going to escape or they're going to get rescued by the X-Men, and blah blah blah, and then supposedly it will start out a stream of a franchise. So, but it's not going to happen because it's part of the MCU. But
right,
so it is the trailer already made the movie better pertaining to it being a New Mutants movie for me.
Okay,
still didn't convince me to go see it, but it's I know exactly what it is.
I still go trash. I still think this is one of those things where, just like you kind of said, something looks really cool. Like I still reference Entourage when they're shooting Medellin and Eric sees the cut and it's just awful, and he goes, "But can you make a good trailer?" And there's obviously enough here. I know a lot of people again were chattering on Twitter saying, "Oh, this is going to be." They clearly, Disney's finally, Marvel's having their hand in this finally, and they've done this or that. I don't even think that's
if Marvel didn't spend a dime.
I don't think they did. I think they literally are just there. They might have recut some new trailers. They might have made it seem more appealing, but I think ultimately this will be trash, and this trailer is not indicative of what that final movie is going to be. But it is on the 2020 movie slate, and when we come back, we will go spinning the racks. Movie predictions 2020. We're going to put ourselves December 31st, 2020, in those shoes. Make predictions right now. Well, when we come back. There's a featurette that has a look back at the females in the Marvel universe.
You still didn't have to talk about it. You still didn't have to go over it.
But then you had to go and
welcome to the world the rest of us live in.
So you're sitting here being like, I don't know why we talked about it. I'm gonna make fun of you and get on my righteous high horse and be like, if you didn't like it, you're not enlightened.
Yeah, that's the purpose of the second chair, my friend.
Secrets of the Sire. Welcome back to Secrets of the Sire, talking comics, movies, TV, and pop culture every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. I want to thank you guys all for joining us as we normally do. And as we normally do, we like to go take a deep dive into all the material, the source material, before you get to see it on the screen. We call this segment Spinning the Racks.
Spin the rack, spin that rack.
However, tonight, we're going to do a little, instead of doing the deep dive into the source material behind the movies, we're going to talk about the movies to come. We're going to talk about 2020 movies. Hassan, let me give you the list and the dates. This is actually courtesy of Movie Facts. Want to give a shout out to them on Instagram, Movie Facts. Go check it out. They did this really cool poster. They did all our work for us, which is awesome. They basically kind of gave us all the genre / comic book films that are coming out. I'm going to skip over a few like Bad Boys and Fast and Furious, while, you know, even 007, while they are genre films for sure, we lean toward the comic book movies / sci-fi variety. So that is what we'll stick with. Animated, you know, something along those lines, something that was maybe based off a cartoon movie, a cartoon or comic book. February 2nd, I believe it is. Yep, February 2nd, Birds of Prey. The very next week is Sonic the Hedgehog, but we're not going to really I'm not going to force you to go see Sonic the Hedgehog, which will basically be the comic book movie equivalent of Cats. From all indications. Again, skipping through James Bond, etc., etc. New Mutants hits April 3rd. Black Widow comes out the very next month, May 1st. Wonder Woman, June 5th. Ghostbusters, we're going to include Ghostbusters because there was a lot of Ghostbusters comics, and there was the animated series. July 10th. July 31st, Morbius with Jared Leto. He gets a second chance. We're going to skip over, but we'll probably end up talking about it because there's nothing else to talk about in August, and why not? Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure sequel. The third movie comes out August 21st, so we'll probably talk about it here just because it's Keanu Reeves, and that's close enough for us. September 18th.
I love Bill and Ted, so I'll talk about it.
I love it too, and I'm just saying in terms of what fits and what doesn't, you know.
But that always changes from week to week, depending on what the material is.
We'll make an exception. September 18th, the Kingsman prequel comes out. October 2nd, Venom 2. And then November 7th, The Eternals. And finally, Kong versus Godzilla, November 20th. There's a Dune movie that comes out the end of December. I was not a Dune person. Are you a Dune person?
Yep.
It's the end of the year. Maybe we'll either come up with something and talk about it, or we'll run out of time because it'll be Christmas and New Year's and we'll get 2 weeks off again. All right.
Only have to wait a year.
I know. That's it. It's the only time you get any breaks. Fast forward. It is December 31st, 2020. We are talking about the highest grossing film of the year out of everything I just mentioned. Which one is it in your mind?
Leaving out the movies that you left out already, right? So only the movies that you mentioned.
Yeah, just the ones I mentioned.
Between Ghostbusters and Wonder Woman.
I'm going to say it's between Wonder Woman, Venom 2, and Black Widow. I think Black Widow's going to do.
You said highest grossing. You didn't say which would be successful.
Yeah, no, highest grossing.
I don't think Black Widow is going to be the highest.
You don't think so? It's the only
No.
real true Marvel movie out next year. Eternals
Doesn't
comes
matter.
out.
I don't think it'll be. I think it'll be high grossing. I think it will be gross highly.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be the highest.
What's your top three? What's your top three in order grossing? What do you think?
Like I said, I think Wonder Woman,
Yeah.
Ghostbusters,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe Black Widow, but I think it would be the third.
I think it's going to be Wonder Woman also. I really do. I think that's going to be just based off of the...
It's going to be an opportunity to kick it over the
hype.
$1 billion.
Yeah, I think it's going to definitely do it.
I think what's going to carry Ghostbusters is the really poor showing of the all-female Ghostbusters.
You think so? Do you think there's going to be a rally cry?
Yeah, just like there was for Captain Marvel, just like there was for there's something else that did really well. In spite of all the negativity that it got, it actually did well. On kind of like in an answer to it. I don't. Venom was just an outlier. I don't believe the second Venom's gonna. I think it's gonna end up being like It 2, It Chapter 2.
Okay.
Where the first It was like a surprise hit.
Right.
They're like, oh, we got us a franchise here.
Right.
And then they made the second one. It's like, nah, everyone really likes kids in the 80s.
Yeah.
So when you get the burnout versions of the kids, nobody's gonna run.
Not so
to
much.
see that. Yeah.
Do you know what's funny? It 2 to me came out, and I could be completely wrong here. I felt like it just came out last year, and then It 2 all of a sudden came out like 6 months later. It was
It 2 was 2017, wasn't it? I think It 2, It 1 was 2017.
Yeah, and It 2 was 2019.
You took 2 years to do that. I don't know why. I don't know why you would be indulgent like that and take an entire 2 years. With all the content that's coming out.
Yeah.
Even Peter Jackson got the Lord of the Rings movies done per year, so there's really no excuse why your It movie couldn't have come out the next year. I'm gonna say
Wonder Woman, followed by Black Widow, followed by Venom 2. I think Black Widow is going to do surprisingly really well. I think another movie
it will do well. I don't know, there's still Dune at the end of the. I think one of the highest grosses is not going to be on your list, but I think the James Bond movie is going to be.
I think James Bond will be very, very good. I think that will definitely bring in a big audience. The reason I think Ghostbusters is one of those franchises that everything came together perfectly in that first movie. Because if you remember too, it's not like the second movie was overwhelmingly, praised.
The second movie wasn't that great, but
and it really wasn't very good. And it's one of those movies that you have.
I'm not saying that movie is going to be good. I'm saying that people are going to rally behind that movie because they're going to support that movie in the face of the other movie that was not good. And that seems to be like people seem to meta watch things where they seem to be making statements with what they decide to watch.
No kidding. Like
weird.
They have agendas. It's crazy, right?
It's better that the people have agendas than the movie studios have agendas.
I don't know. I feel as if
the people who are voting with their wallets should have the agendas. They're the ones who should be driving content.
That's the funny part about watching movies these days. And look, this is a cycle. It will pass. There's already people growing tired of talking about this kind of stuff. So not necessarily the message itself, but people talking about it as much as it kind of it's kind of one of those like brush fires where for the most part I think
we're talking about which kind of stuff. Like, what do you movies in general?
People rallying behind movies, making political statements out of what they go see versus making political statements about what they're making, and then using identity politics. So I know you hate that term, but that is the official term that's out there to garner support through marketing, to rally people behind for or against something. I think in general people are growing tired of that. I think
people are growing tired of it.
I think just in my opinion,
because there's no group of people who are growing tired of being represented.
No. There's the conversation. People are growing tired of the conversation. I think there's
we've already had a conversation. We've discussed who's actually having that conversation. We've already talked about that deeply. Which is and I mean, more power to those people. Have at it.
No, yeah.
But
and
I mean,
again,
no.
I'm just saying in your logic of saying that you think Ghostbusters is going to be successful because people are going to rally toward it to show support again, or to show.
But I mean, that doesn't. I don't necessarily mean because they're anti-woman or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
In my point of view, you very shamelessly and shamefully co-opted a brand that is it's very beloved.
Yeah.
And then most of the movie was making fun of that brand, making fun of the affection that people had for the brand.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
kind of like Last Jedi. Right?
Yeah, or Rise of Skywalker. It's like, wait a minute. Like, are you trying to expand this brand and make something out of this?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you just trying to make a buck off of the excitement of it? The moment, like Kevin Feige he's making absolute roller coaster ride spectacles,
mm-hmm.
but he's also making sure to infuse each movie with enough narrative that'll have legs so he can make another movie.
Right.
I mean, in rudimentary terms, that's kind of the best way you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't poison your customers,
right.
If you want your restaurant to thrive.
Right.
So it doesn't make any sense.
I heard good.
Huh?
I heard good. I heard that's the best
strategy
strategy
you
in
think
business.
So? You think, well, I mean, you know what? If you want to pull up stakes and move on,
right?
That's kind of you close that.
You burn the restaurant down.
Exactly.
You take the insurance money.
But I mean, if you think about it, without even getting on the soapbox about it, if you think about it, you're poisoning your customers.
Right.
You're diluting your fan base, and I don't understand it. I mean, for the moment, you're okay, your logic is well, maybe if we make this meal with with a lot of heart and integrity, and we put our backs into it, people will understand that Dolce's and Godwin's is a chain that's. And I'm over there yeah, but I mean, if we just get butts in the seats for one night, we can make up a year's worth of salary, and then we could do whatever we want after that. One logic will keep feeding us. The other logic, will only feed us for a year and probably won't even work because the idea is so ludicrous that people will see right through it.
Yeah,
and that's that's how most people are making their franchises now. That's the New Mutants. That's Dark Phoenix. Why are we doing this again? And why do it again if you're going to do it just as bad as they did it the first time?
Bigger
without the star power this time. You don't have Hugh Jackman. You don't have Famke Janssen, who was a big star at the time. You don't have
Sophie Turner was kind of big from Game of Thrones.
Sophie Turner, but she's not Hugh Jackman.
No, she's not.
Patrick Stewart. She's not these people.
Right.
She's not Ian McKellen. All these. It was an amazing cast. Halle Berry. You had this ensemble cast, and you just botched it, and then you just did it again. You did the same thing again. Now, as you said, Dark Phoenix. I like Dark Phoenix because it's just a simple story.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a trailer for the next movie. It was just telling a story, but it wasn't really a very interesting story. It wasn't a story we haven't seen before.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and frankly, if you want to have the woke argument about it, we just saw another beloved female character go nuts and burn down a city. Maybe a month before that, we just saw Daenerys do that.
Right.
So it's okay, what is? All right, so everybody who gets superpowers becomes absolutely corrupted, and then all their friends band together and try to kill them. How many times is that narrative going to work? It doesn't make any sense.
Bigger question mark. New Mutants or Morbius?
I don't know much about Morbius. I'd have to see Morbius. I mean, right now it would be New Mutants because at least I know New Mutants.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd have to see what Morbius looked like. If Morbius came out and looked like look amazeballs, then I would have to go, I'd have to run out and see that.
Yeah. Higher Rotten Tomatoes score. Birds of Prey or Eternals?
That's that's another one, because Birds of Prey could get a lower Rotten Tomatoes score for two reasons. Either A, because it's not good. Possible that it's not good.
It's so possible.
Or
it's so probable in my mind that it's not going to be very good. But go
or
ahead.
if it has an overly, if it's marketed in an overly woke way, or it is perceived as another woke message board,
Mm-hmm.
then it will be, it'll be bombed, so that it won't, even if it is good.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be.
That's how people kind of vote. Because not everybody's going to run to see the film, right? So this is a very cheap way that everybody can vote.
Harley Quinn's a very famous character. That's why I actually said, first of all, I don't think the movie's going to be very good.
That didn't really help with Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad did okay, but it didn't push them over the top.
No, but now, I mean, once, so Suicide Squad's interesting, right? It wasn't a very good movie. It wasn't put together correct. However, Margot Robbie was such a star in that movie. That was the Halloween costume. That has now become the symbol for this generation's female, antagonist, anti-hero, whatever you want to call it. That I feel like is going to carry over into the sequel, where you have people going because they want to see Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn.
Maybe.
They loved her version of it so much.
Maybe.
And it
or
made
maybe
such
it's
an
Blade
impact.
Runner all over again, where it's got all this cult fan following, and it was, it's a seminal work of such and such a time. It's a science fiction powerhouse, and then they make a really good sequel to it.
Yeah,
which some people argue is actually better than the original, and nobody went to see it.
I know.
It didn't. It just did not have didn't carry it over.
But
You never know.
You've got the Eternals and a whole. You got Angelina Jolie and a whole bunch of.
The Eternals has less riding on it, and here's what I mean by that. It's like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, absolutely.
It's like if it doesn't
100%.
do well, it's like everybody's like, well, that wasn't going to work anyway. But if it does do well, it will do extra special because it actually is good, and no one thought it would do well. It's again the Days of Future Past effect.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I remember very prominent people in the industry going, who's actually even going to go see this movie the night it came out?
Yeah.
The night it came out, they were all over Facebook. Like who's actually, let's take a poll. Who's online right now to go see Days of Future Past? And it did really well. So all of a sudden people were like, wait a minute, the X-Men movies still have legs.
Yeah.
And then, the very next, they put Oscar Isaac in an Augustus Gloop outfit. And that was, he looked like Ivan Ooze.
Poor Poe.
And that was
Poe.
it for that.
He just can't catch a break. Just can't catch a break.
Hey, Oscar Isaac is catching breaks all over the place. All over the place. He survives. He survives no matter what.
True.
A lot of his movies are not like gangbusters. Like he has like art house movies like Annihilation and Ex Machina.
He played Sleeping Beauty in that movie though. He didn't really do anything else. Ex Machina, I want to see. I never.
But I mean, those movies didn't do tremendously well, and he just, I'm in Star Wars now. It didn't affect it.
True. That's true. All right. Lastly, in the department of, they're still making these movies? Kingsman. I was surprised when I saw the trailer for it. I kind of like the angle.
Not technically Kingsman. It's a prequel.
It is. Well, that's
the
what I'm
origins
saying.
of the
Well, but that's what it is. It actually, the funny part is it looks cooler. There's something about a third installment that I generally, and this is a bias that I have, always feel is going to be better than the second one. I have not seen John Wick the Third yet. It's coming on HBO in 2 weeks. I DVR'd it, and I couldn't get through the second one. Don't know why. Just didn't like it. Didn't enjoy it. But now I'm kind of like,
the third John Wick will make you tired.
But I
he doesn't really even use a gun in that one. He just literally beats people to death, and you're like, wow, I am exhausted watching.
But I'm excited for it.
Way through.
Nightmare on Elm Street 3 superior to Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Well, of course. There are entire documentaries on Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
No idea.
And we can't even get into it here because that's how controversial the documentaries on Nightmare on Elm Street 2 are. Look that up. It's fascinating.
I will actually. No idea why this gets railed on so badly, but Back to the Future 3 so far superior to Back to the Future 2. Back to the Future 2 was a rainy mess of a movie with a weird plot to begin with. Back to the Future 3, perfect. Loved it. Don't love it better than the first one, but love it better than the second one. That's, to me, another example of the third movie just...
you know what the thing is? I think Back to the Future 2 is like a genre movie. It's a science fiction genre movie.
Mm-hmm.
And Back to the Future 3 is a
Western.
Yeah, but I mean, okay. Fantasy movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it's like it was like the first one. Now the first one was really clever.
The first one's a fairy tale. That's the best part.
But the first one is really cleverly written. It's really poppy. It's really wonderfully written and tightly woven. And the third one is like a love letter to the first one because it's that same trope, that trilogy trope, where everything happens exactly how it happened the first time, except slightly different. You know, where the shoes on different people's feet.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The Western thing didn't do anything for me when I was growing up.
Yeah, I liked it.
Good trilogy. There's a great documentary, but on the making of the three of them. I am a documentary whore. It is a shame. I actually need to go to a group to to help me with my documentary obsession. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I need an intervention because I am a documentary crazy person. I've seen whatever genre you mention. If there's a documentary on it, I've probably seen the documentary before I've actually seen the genre.
Huh. That's not easy to do.
Yeah, I've done it.
You know what else is not easy to do?
I do a lot of things that aren't easy.
You know what it's not easy to do? Take 2 weeks off and come back this on fire. That's what we do. That's what we do every week. Thank you guys for joining us. Next week, we'll talk about something. The Witcher, maybe.
That sounds like we're on fire. We're gonna come back, and we're gonna discuss something. We're gonna use words. It's gonna be wonderful.
Surprise special guest.
Is it Ronald McDonald?
Maybe. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Better bring nuggets.
It's as if we need a plan.
We'll
see you all next week.